Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome into Inside the Game. John Turner alongside Nathan Wangler, and I don't know if this looks and feels like Peter, but then I don't know. But if it is Peter, and he's changed his name to Midwest Media Network, we are going to have a fight because he he has named himself a network. Peter, if this is you. We still love you, but now we hate you. It's like, I think Peter's trying to compete with us.
He's actually stealing all of our ideas.
Does he not know what we do?
He's stealing our business model. He's stealing everything, and he's bringing it to his own platform. In 2 years, we're going to be the ones commenting on his show.
That's true. Yeah. No. What we'll just do is we'll have our attorney just to consume him, with legal documents from now until 2040.
Sign here.
Initial here. Anyways, what a beautiful Tuesday morning it is. It's the 18th of February. It is episode number 30. We have officially hit 30. It's a year I remember very vividly, my 30th birthday. Rented a limo for my 30th. Yeah, rented a limo. This is how cool I was back then. I paid for the limo. I think it was me and about 7 friends hopping in that limo, driving all over town, bar hopping. No one willing to pay for the limo but me. That's how cool I was. You're truly cool if you pay for your own limo on your birthday. Anyways, all joking aside, it is a beautiful day. It's Tuesday, and it's Inside the Game here on the National Soccer Network. If first time stopping by, hit that subscribe button, like us, share this with your friends and family, and make sure you come back for more each and every weekday. I was going to say when did it today, but it's weekend today. And we have a special guest tomorrow on the show. Yeah, special guest. Yeah, who's excited about having guests on the show? I know Nathan is. He's getting tired of me just doing all the yapping. He wants he wants somebody else. Let's see here. You ready? I'm going to read off his bio. You ready? Television play-by-play, all sports. Voice of North Carolina FC and the NC Courage. Also part of the Big Ten Network, ECNL, United Soccer Coaches. None other than Dean Linke. Right here tomorrow, live on the National Soccer Network, Inside the Game. Who's not excited about that? I am. Dean Linke had come out and covered some games for us here a few weeks back. Well, actually back in December. Some games we did for USL Academy. So Dean Linke will be on here tomorrow morning to talk about all things soccer in this country and have a great conversation with him. Dean is a part of our staff. So Dean is someone that will be doing calling games for us this upcoming year. So a lot to look forward to in regards to that. Jimmy Co says Dean with star. And good morning, everybody. I do need Peter to in the comment section. I do, if that is in fact Peter, which again I believe it is that really you? You're now the Midwest Media Network. I want to get confirmation that that's Peter. I really do. I really want to. I think Jimmy Co wants to as well.
Unless we got a new friend on the show,
if we do, that's even better. I mean, that's great. I will take new friends. I mean, competitors, friends. They say keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Enemies closer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So first off, how was your Monday, man? How was your day?
It was good. Yeah, it was good. Did the show. Just got a lot of prep work done yesterday. We're kind of getting towards the end of the seasons with everything I'm doing. Obviously, the beginning of one season. So it's never. Oh boy, It's never when you're in the middle of a season when things get interesting. It's always when you get towards the end and the beginning of another. So, yeah, it's just busy, but for the most part, just another one. Just keep it on. But yeah, just lot of prep work, a lot of getting ready, and then obviously a lot of stuff in regards to this. But for the most part, same old, same old. What about you?
Typical Monday for me. Meetings until 4 o'clock. Then headed to the Oakland radio show for the Campy show that we produce every Monday night for them. And I got home, played a little Xbox last night. I've been in this building mode of, it's called City Skylines. It's called. Anyways, it's like the old Sim City, but Sim City, not Sims, but Sim City. We could build like your own city and then watch it grow. Yeah, I'm knee deep in that, man. Just you know, watching my city grow to last night 41,000 people.
Good.
It's great because I just
Did
get
you
to sit there
build a
and just,
soccer stadium? Do you have it
there
in
is
the
a,
budget to build a soccer stadium?
yeah, I have it on where I can just build whatever I want and there's no money thresholds.
Oh, money's not a thing. Okay.
Money's not a
All
thing.
right.
I just build it. I just build it. And but yeah, no, it's
I don't know if you just built the football stadium and you're like, well, we'll just have the soccer team play in there. And then the community's like, no, that's dumb. JT, what are you doing?
well, in this game, as far as I know, there is no other, it's only like soccer stadiums. So there's no like actual football stadiums. So yeah.
Right. One of us. One
That's right.
of us.
Right. So just yeah, that's what I did last night. Then I drifted off to sleep and woke up and started the day again. A busy day again here for me today. After this, meetings, and the typical stuff. But what are we going to talk about here today? What are we gonna dive into? Yesterday we talked about rosters and roster sizes in the NCAA. And that topic in itself led down a kind of a multitude of directions, right? We talked about NIL deals and that whole thing. We talked about the fact that scholarships and things like that. We talked about kind of a lot that we were kind of unpacking, and we will continue to have that conversation. As far as that is concerned, I think it's important. When you're watching this, we've talked about this in the past, about me and you and about us and about kind of like our backgrounds and things like that. We've talked about our platform and what that's all about. We've discussed obviously NSN Nation and the coaches and things that we're doing there and how we're trying to grow this platform. We talked about our love for broadcasting and what that goes into. I want to talk today about kind of like work life balance for a moment, right? They're, regardless of whatever, we can talk about this in any sport, right? I know I saw Jimmy Johnson. He had an interview that he did for something, this was probably many years ago, but he talked about how, if I'm working 8 hours for the Dallas Cowboys for us to go win a game, that means somebody else out there is either working the exact same amount of hours as me trying to compete against us, right? Or working even more hours than me, right? So there's that competitive aspect of it. And we live in a world today where I think work ethic is gone. And I don't mean it's like gone in the way, like it's not what it used to be. Right? It's not what I know work ethic should be. It's a new level, a new normal. And I want to talk today about that. I want to talk today about how there's this entitlement in this country as it relates to what I deserve. Right? Like there's that aspect of this.
Mm-hmm.
You've got players out there in the game of soccer, in all sports for that matter, that think that they deserve something. And I don't care if you're LeBron James or if you're, little Jimmy in Rhode Island. You don't deserve shit. Like, nobody deserves anything. I mean, every day is a gift. That's what they say, at least. I don't get I don't. It's not like gift wrapped, but I mean, I wake up every morning, and there are people out there who don't wake up. There are people out there that wake up in pain, right? And they say, I'd rather feel pain than feel nothing, because if I feel nothing, I'm dead, right? So I guess there is something to be said about people who live in pain too, right? It's a gift. It sounds terrible to say that, and that's not being disingenuous to
Hmm.
people in pain, but it's a
Hmm.
gift. What do you deserve? Like, what is it that we deserve? What do I deserve? Do I deserve anything? I don't deserve shit. You know, if I do what I'm supposed to do and I do it well enough consistently, the things that I believe I'm entitled to will roll into place and they'll fall into place, but I don't deserve shit.
Hmm.
And we live in this world today where we all think that we're deserved or we're owed something. Like there's like this, well, I've done it over here. My notch, I got 3, you've got 1. Oh, it's like we're keeping count of something. And it's not, this is not like, isolated to, like I said, to a soccer, or it's everywhere. It's everywhere in life. Everybody here thinks we're owed, we deserve. Like, if you look now, everywhere you go on the internet, there's somebody with a camera going, why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing that? Or getting in front of a police officer, or anyone that's got anything to do with anything. They're putting a camera in their face and saying, I deserve this. I deserve this.
Hmm.
What do you deserve? And do people actually deserve anything? Again, my perspective is we don't deserve anything. I mean, there's nothing that's promised. Yeah, there might be contracts, but to be fair, we find that those contracts really mean nothing at the end of the day, right? Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, any coach, any player can get released, fired, whatever. And yeah, there might be a monetary aspect to that contract, but that doesn't relate to playing time, you know, being on that field or whatever, right? It doesn't, at least from my perspective, it doesn't. But again, I'm not a lawyer, so.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Peter jumped
there's
in,
a
by the
stark
way.
difference. What's that? Yesterday is history, tomorrow's mystery. So I'm guessing it's not Peter. Tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. It's called the present. So I'm guessing that other account is not Peter. If we got multiple comments in here, so I believe
Yeah,
we have.
I
I
don't know.
believe I might know. I might have a sneaking suspicion.
Who Midwest Media Network might be? I think it's great. I mean, I'm looking at it. They do a lot of games.
I know who. I know who has Midwest Media Network.
But
Let me. I got a point on what you were bringing up, but let me just.
Well, while you're doing that, I know you have your point. I want to kind of continue on my soapbox for a second.
No, feel free.
And this is not stemming from anything like yesterday or anything fresh. We just live in this world where everybody thinks that they are owed something. And the sooner I remember growing up very vividly, me being stuck on this whole thing of respect. Like, I deserve respect. And I felt that, what it didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter whether it was a coach, whether it was a parent, whether it was a referee, a signer, or a boss, that I, on some level, deserve respect. And my dad looked at me and says, John, you don't deserve shit. and and it took a long time for that to sink in. It took a lot of years for me, because I got stuck in this mindset. Well, they didn't give it to me, so I'm just gonna, I'm pissed off at the world, and to be fair, it hindered my ability to really grow and to be
Mhm.
more open minded too.
Mhm.
And I never did that when it came to like playing this game of soccer, but was everything else in my life that I felt I was owed something, that I deserved something, that I needed something, whatever it might be. And the more I realized that that was outside of my control, that if I just put my head down, did my job, and did it to the best of my ability, that good things would come as a result of that. That nothing was deserved, but I would put myself in the best possible position to earn what I
Mhm.
wanted by just doing the things that I was supposed to do and making myself an asset and not a liability. I did those things and good things came to me, but it wasn't like I deserved them, because
Yeah.
again, in the eye of the beholder, you know, perception is reality to the person who's looking at that from their perspective. It might not be
Right.
my reality, but it's their reality.
Right.
And
And
everybody has their own look and feel of what they think is someone deserves. So while you might be working your ass off, there might be a specific reason as to why a player, a coach, an employee is in a position that you are not in, or that you want, or that you feel like you deserved over them. There might be many reasons behind that. And I wanted to talk about that today. And I mean, I'll probably look at some statistics here in a moment, but I want to get your take on this before we dive into this more.
it's the hardest part about working with young professionals in my business. And I'm kind of in a position in my career now. I'm not where I want to be. And I am, option number 3, 4 in a lot of places that I would like to be, but at least I'm in the conversation. And so to that point, at least because I'm in the conversation, I'm moving in the right direction. But the hardest thing that I will say, now that I have, I guess, a level of notoriety and younger kids see what I'm doing, they want to talk to me and they want to, get my advice on everything. We always wrap our way around to the same topic. I feel like in every conversation that I have, well, where do I find stuff? Where do I find jobs? And then they typically follow it up with X and X or so and so had half the amount of reps that I did, or X and so wasn't in the spot that I was in for all these years, or I've been working all these things and yet this person and that person is getting internships and opportunities. The hardest thing to teach these kids is that oftentimes, not even oftentimes, all the time, there will a lot of times be a gap between what you think you are deserved and owed and what is actually made available to you. And there's a combination of factors for that, but it all centers around the idea. And again, I was taught this growing up, and I don't know if everybody was. It's just life isn't fair. None of it is fair. None of it. None of it's split down the middle, right? And that's why, when we, like, historically speaking, right, like when governments try to make sure that everything's equal and right down the middle and everyone has a cookie, a puppy, and everyone has the same thing. Everyone's equal. Everyone's all on the same plane. It always results in the same thing: misery, warfare, crime, crying, anger, because we're human, right? We will never, so long as humans exist on this earth, we will never create a system where everyone gets what they need. Ever. 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 There will always be those who are doing better than others. So the hardest lesson that these kids have to learn, and it's a lesson that I'm learning repeatedly, and again, it doesn't just apply to broadcasting, it can also apply to sports and everything else. There can sometimes be a massive gap in what you think you're deserved and what is, again, actually made available to you. But that's why we do the things outside of just our job, right? That's why I do the social media stuff. That's why I put my face out there. That's why I do these individual lessons with people who have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years to kind of smooth out the edges, right? That's why I network. That's why I open conversations with people who are in the industry so they know my name. You have to be able to, it is the best way to describe it is rat race. And people don't want to be a part of the rat race. They just want to show up and know that people look at them and they're like, oh yeah, you'll do a great job. Here you go. It's just not how it works. And it's a crude reality that we live in. And I think there is a sense of entitlement. I think that comes from inexperience though. And I know that's worldwide. That's just people being people. They think they think they're owed the world for nothing outside of waking up. But what I will say is that as a human being, you do deserve certain things, right? You deserve respect. You deserve, empathy. You deserve, a feeling like you belong. Those are things that just as a human being, just waking up in the morning, you deserve those things, right? Like inalienable rights. Like you have stuff that you deserve just by waking up, just by being on this earth, just by watching the show. But because you've been doing something for a year, does that mean you deserve to work for ESPN? Or just because you've been working, you've been playing soccer for 2-3 years, you deserve a spot on an MLS roster? Or you've been playing basketball for a few years, so you deserve to be, in Laker attire next to LBJ. Like, no, I mean, clearly, we understand this. And that's not to say that talent isn't left on the chopping block, because that's the other thing. I truly believe that there is talent all over the place that's left on the chopping block, whether it be sports, whether it be music, whether it be broadcasting. And it's simply because they didn't have the connections and they didn't have the window to be able to go through. And we said this on a previous show. Like, some people's window is this, right? Some people's window is massive. They're allowed to screw up a couple of times and they can still find a way to make it work. Some people, if they don't do everything right from the jump, they're not even going to have a chance. But I've run into people personally, who work a certain level for a few years. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I've mastered that level. It's time for me to move up. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'm like, you don't make that choice. Like, somebody else makes that choice for you. So you might feel like, oh, okay, I have the work ethic and I have the, the games and I'm ready to go tackle the big dogs. According to who? According to who? According to yourself? That's not a very good marker. That's not a very good place to judge this on. I think I could go do a Dodgers v Padres game tomorrow in LA. Actually, I know I could if they put me in that spot. Does that mean I deserve it? No. I mean, there's another Michigan kid that's in there doing play-by-play who's only 10 years older than I am. And he's a lot better than I am. I'll admit that right now, right here. So, you don't deserve anything. But the more that you do to put yourself in good positions to get to that place, that's when you're going to get the opportunities. But that's when we circle back to the whole, rebranding thing and finding different routes. And if something doesn't work for you, do something else. I just think that the toughest thing is the people around you. And I don't want to say mom and dad's opinions don't matter. I don't want to say your friends' opinions don't matter. I don't want to say your coach or your guru's opinion doesn't matter. But in one way or another, their kudos, those people, when they're complimenting you and telling you you're awesome, they're supposed to. Right? If mom and dad aren't listening to your tape and if they're going, well, this is garbage, you got to do better, they're probably not very good parents. But when you allow those voices to tell you what you deserve or don't deserve, that's when you get into trouble. That's when I've seen the younger kids really get into trouble, is when they really buy into the people that are around them, part of their family, their friends or whatever, that are like, yeah, you're awesome. You're like, all right, I got to figure it out. You got to go prove yourself to the people that really matter in the world. And so I think a lot of it, JT, and I'll end on this. And maybe you got an opinion on this. You're not much older than I am, so this isn't me like talking to someone who's, in their 70s and they've been around for a while. But part of me also feels like the conversational aspect has in a lot of ways just gone away. We're not in a position in life anymore where we need to go out and actually talk to people. Like, I oftentimes think about what life was like before the internet and job searching. Could you imagine going and driving to like a busy like strip mall or whatever and just walking into places and being like, hey, are you guys hiring, to every single one of them, as opposed to just going on LinkedIn and accepting a job and yeah, I'll be there on Monday. Like, there's just that our society is built to where you don't have to actually go out of your way to do something anymore. I mean, people in my position, broadcasters in my position, I remember, again, I keep referencing him, John Michaels, a TV voice for the Cast. He sent out 100 physical letters with burnt copies of his demo inside. And he got 90 no responses, 9 no's, and then he got 1 okay, sure, and he had to move 2 states away in order to do the job. Like, that's the level that it took. And I have the gall to complain about how I've sent 15 emails today and no one's responded. Well, at least I didn't have to go burn 100 CDs. it's our life has gotten easier as we've gone along. Specifically, the more that we've gotten away from wartime and everything else like that. But there's always that I forget who the comedian is that made the joke about we need a good war in order to toughen people up a little bit. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I think there is an element to that we have just gotten so comfortable in our bubbles to where there's no communication skills or ability to go get it outside of that. That's the concerning part to me.
So this every year when I was at Groves, we at the end of the year, I would send out an evaluation to parents saying, "Hey, I want you to evaluate us as coaches on the season." Every year. My first year was 2015, and this was so. And I think this is and I was just thinking about this the other day about kind of like that first year and how it was really tough for me because you're coming into a season that I was hired in July. The season started in August, right? So I only had a few weeks to prepare. I didn't know these players. I coming into an environment that I was not known to, and I had to try to quickly turn a program around that was the year before that had like lost 14 games, right? So so the survey, and I think maybe what I should do before I show you the answers, let me go back here. Let me actually find the actual what the survey looked like, what the survey actually looked like from the standpoint of like a parent. So I'll do that first. Obviously, you
Mhm.
you saw the some of the answers there. But I want to find it. Where is it at here? Evaluation. But what I learned very early on that if you put a survey out there, and you don't put a player like they're not required to like fill out like their name, that you're gonna get a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So and obviously that's that's what I got. I can't find it. It doesn't matter. We'll stick with this. So I asked parents to fill out a survey, an evaluation of our coaches after each season. I did this for I think the first 2 years of my coaching in this environment, and I quickly realized that in year 3 I wasn't going to do this anymore because these are tough to read, right? So let's just get in here. So this one coming in on October the 16th, JV bad. All the coaches need to be fired. They're all really bad, right? So like that's one of them. This is varsity good. First year, we'll know after the second year, many good things. So, and again, there's a section here for much more. This is that, again, really simple comment. No, this was varsity bad. Very disappointed with lack of team unity and the falls on the coach. Players given special treatment, rules not enforced. Why have boys sign a contract and not hold them to it? Overall, very toxic atmosphere. Varsity good, no. Training was not good. Very varsity good. Coach was rude, disrespectful to players on the team. He did not create a team. He acted like a bully to many players. He doesn't follow his own rules. He seems to pick favorites. He's a narcissist and a sociopath. Is what that was a fun one to read. Enthusiastic.
This is about you.
Oh yeah, this is about me. Sounds like me, a sociopath and a narcissist, but either way, enthusiastic, but some of his decision questionable. Tryout length and early blah blah blah. The coaches needed to quit or get fired. That was a good one. The reason why I thought this was good to share, and I actually probably should create like a little book of like the emails that I received during this time. Call me, anyways, this just kind of gives you some I've heard, this says Coach Turner provides solid team mentality. I mean, there's obviously there's a lot more good than bad. I will say that, right? So I don't want people to go, oh my God, this guy's a terrible coach. Because I was a terrible coach. But the reason why our children are entitled is because of shit like this. You think that a parent who's sending a thing saying you guys should all get fired or quit, knowing that the coach is going to read it again, knowing that the person who is sending this out is the person you're talking about, right? You could respond a million ways. You could be, and we even put in there, be constructive in nature. If you feel that we didn't do a good enough job, explain to us in a constructive manner what you'd like to see improvements on. Right? Telling me that I should get fired or I should quit, not constructive. Calling us names, not constructive. There was one in here, and I'm not going to put it on the screen, where someone said you should all die. That obviously not constructive, right? Like, this was back in 2015. This is 10 years ago. 10 years ago, give or take, right? That this went out to parents. And that's what they were doing 10 years ago. So when a player comes to us at a training session, showing up late, or a player comes and they have an attitude, you know what I mean? And I don't think people truly understand this, but our jobs as coaches, as much as it is to understand there are rules, you also have a team.
Yep.
And when you lose your team, you lose games. So the rules that they are alluding to, I want to put this in perspective. My first few weeks on the job, right? I get hired in. We do tryouts. Now for tryouts, I think that year we only had 50 kids try out. So on day one of tryouts, which typically you don't do this, Nathan, but I did. On day one, I said everyone made a team, and because we didn't have the numbers, so everyone made a team. And we took players who I thought were on varsity, made them varsity, and some players were on JV, made them JV and JVB, whatever. And then there was this thing about, well, and I made some decisions after that day. Of course I would. Who wouldn't? And it made a lot of people get upset about the fact that we picked teams on day one. Fine. But like, we had our annual car wash where we raised money for fundraising. And during that car wash, a couple of our team players decided to, on the side of the road, like, literally take off all of their clothes and hold the sign on the road, covering their junk on the road. And they were sending pictures to each other about it. So you have these kids all sharing pictures, and it made its way to Facebook. And I'm dealing with that in week 2. We had to suspend like 2 players or 3 players over it, and so we, like, our best players were like out for like 2 or 3 weeks because of the stupid thing. So I was dealing with that like my first couple weeks on the job, and then trying to just get used to these teams, getting used to it all. Right, I'm tier 1, so favoritism. I don't know anybody, but putting things in perspective. When we say people are entitled, we are like, my children are a direct correlation to how I raise them, how my wife and I raise them. It correlates. So if I'm a prick, what are my kids going to be? Probably going to be pricks, right? If I'm the nicest human being on earth, chances are my children are going to be the nicest human beings on earth. I mean, it all correlates. Now, are there anomalies to that? Of course there are. Of course there are.
Right. But loving is not enabling.
There's
a difference.
That is definitely true, right? And again, I think that's a great perspective, right? I would never in a million years. And my daughter, she swims competitively. My daughter prior to high school didn't swim on a competitive team ever. So me as a parent, I don't have any opinions on this whatsoever. And I'm a coach, right? I'm a competitive person, so I don't jab at my daughter and be like, "Hey, Brianna, this." I don't like. No, I don't know anything, so I'm just like, "Hey, I'm gonna I'm going to literally like listen to the coach and take guidance from the coach and take guidance from what she's listening to. And if I don't necessarily agree with that, then it's my job to maybe ask questions so I can understand what's going on. That's my job. But I don't like berate her. I don't belittle. I don't attack the coach. I don't do any of those things. And if a coach sent me an evaluation, I would give an honest opinion, but I wouldn't do so in a way in which the coach feels like, holy crap, I'm terrible. I mean, if you're just looking at these, I'll put them back on the screen. If you're the one, these again, I put them in red because I wanted to remind myself of how, red, like in high school when you were growing up, right? All coaches need to be fun. Like if you're reading this and you see these, these reds, this is a tough read. It's a tough read, but if you notice, there's not a ton of red. Now there's a lot more. There's blue. The blue is like, hey, this is actually not a bad thing, right? So, I think in total we had like out of the 60 people who are in the program, I think we had 27 responded. Considering the last minute circumstance led to needing a new coach, I do appreciate the coach's effort and enthusiasm. So which is good, right? So I mean, there are a lot more good than bad, and neutral, I would say. But I would never in a million years respond in that way. If I didn't agree with a coach, I would certainly pull them aside and be like, hey, I have a question for you. Can you explain this to me so I understand? And obviously based on this evaluation, what did I learn from this? What did I learn from this as a coach in this evaluation process? Do you think I learned how to be a better coach from this? Do you think, Nathan, by me reading those comments, that I learned to be a better coach?
No.
On the negative comments?
No, but I think you might have gained an understanding as to the type of people and the cancers that were in your program. Now, can you identify these people? Probably not, because it's all anonymous.
I mean, to be fair,
unless you already did.
So at the end of the season, this evaluation went out. My athletic director at Groves was unbelievable. Tom Flynn had your back until he didn't. And I never put myself in a position to be, where he wouldn't have my back. And I was well liked by all the other coaches in the like, for example, the football coach. Groves football has been well known for the last number of years to be very, very, very good at football. Very good. And Coach Flaherty has been there for many years. And Coach Flaherty would come up to me all the time and go, John, I've been here for a long time. You keep doing you, man. Like, you keep doing it, right? You keep doing that. Like, that to me was way more meaningful than any parent who, like, he would come up to me and say, John, we're here every day. He goes, there's nobody who's been in this program in your position that has done more than you in many years I've been here. So I took that as like, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is great. That's what you want to hear. You want to hear. It's like when you hear about like Tom Izzo and Greg Kampe, they're like the best friends, right? They're like great friends, and they bounce things off of each other. There's a mutual respect there. If Tom Izzo walked up to coach, whoever, brand new coach at a new university, and was like, hey man, you keep doing you. I hear these like that's a huge thing to hear from a coach. Like So when he may not know anything about football, about soccer, but he knows how coach would run their training sessions, and he'd be like, John, you keep doing you. But at the end of the season, I had mentioned this, that I had told some kids, about 3 weeks into the season, the kids that were at the bottom end of our depth chart, and said, hey, you right now you're not good enough. Right now you're just not where you need to be. If you want to improve, you have to do these things. You have to show me in training why you deserve to be on this team, and then if you do that, then there's a chance you can make it onto a field. That whole thing turned into this thing. And I think I talked about it already on the show. It turned into this meeting where I had to go sit down with the Booster Club president, the athletic director, and parents. And it was like, what, you never should have said those to our kids. And I said, well, if I could go back and take what I would take back is I wouldn't select your kids. If I could cut them, I would, because they're not good. They're not good soccer players. That's what I told these parents in that room. And if, rightfully so, they'd be pissed off at me. I'd be pissed off as a parent too. But at the same time, I would never been in that room in the first place. So once I'm in that room, once I'm literally sitting there with mom and dad, and they're like, well, my kid has been playing here for years, and we think they're going places. Your kid ain't going anywhere on a soccer field. Your kid can't kick a ball. So this is soccer. We're not talking about, studies. You may be the best student on earth, whatever. My job is to win soccer games at the varsity level. That's my job. Tom is sitting right next to me going, that's John's job. He's to win, and your son is a senior. He never should have been here as a junior on this team. And had I been here, he would have been cut.
Yep.
So like
Mhm.
these are the things I'm trying to explain to mom and dad, and they don't. Again, it's way over their head because
Yeah.
they think their son has earned the right to be on varsity and is entitled to that position, and
Mhm.
that now that he's there, they're pissed off that he's not playing. Not that
Yep.
he's just happy to be there, that he's not playing. And
Yep.
so that was and at the end of the season, those parents, again, the parent happened to be a booster club president. So he rallied some people and they wrote a letter. They wrote a letter about me to the athletic director and to the school. And it was signed by, I think, 8 parents. Signed by 8 parents, give or take. There's a whole bunch of signatures at the bottom of the page. I was called in at the end of that season, and Tom goes, John, first and foremost, let's review the letter. He goes, but I want to say before we even review this, you're not going anywhere. It's like the first. So we're going to read this. We're going to take what we can from it. And then you're going to address these parents in a meeting. So I read the letter and I actually have a copy of it somewhere, but it was pretty terrible. And a kind of similar stuff, but in a well-written form and not like short form, but long form about how, I didn't do certain things throughout the course of that season that, that these parents liked and they wanted me to go. And we had a parent meeting a few weeks later, and sitting in that room, and I said, "Hey, I get it. I get it that you guys. First off, you didn't hire me, so I understand it. But I did not have plenty of time. I didn't have a ton of time to prepare for this season. We came in. I only had a few weeks to get things ready. We had a successful season. Had a winning record. Obviously, a complete turnaround from the year before. And you can argue about whether or not I had anything to do with that. Fair, right? Players are talented. Talented players will find ways to win soccer games. That's fair. But I think you're not giving me enough credit and the opportunity to really be successful here. If you truly believe that I should go, then I'll go. Like I don't need this coaching job. It's taking me away from my family. I go, but I believe that I can do really good things here. Just give me an opportunity to do that. And like anything in life, if you make a mistake, you learn from it. And if I'm not evolving, I'm dying. And the whole point of the survey was to find out where we could find ways to improve next season so that we can make it better. Give me that opportunity.
Mhm.
And I think we walked out of that room, and obviously the parents that had their mindset about what I was, we're gonna go on their way, and the ones that weren't, they were like, "Go do your thing."
Mhm.
And then obviously I went on for 4 more years. It was a tough first year for me. I remember I was like, "Why am I doing this?" Like, "Why
Mhm.
am I doing this?"
Mhm.
Like, why what and again, it was because of the players. It wasn't because of the moms and dads. I thoroughly enjoyed watching young players gr clicking. Like, you could see it clicking in their
Mhm.
brain.
Yep.
And, you could literally see it happening in real time, and that's the part that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yep.
And
I
it's one of those things, Nathan, that, when we talk about what is it you deserve, I would tell this to players. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve anything. If you do your job and you do it well enough, good things will come to you. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes they won't.
Mhm.
And that is life. You will go and interview for a job that you think wholeheartedly based on your experience, based on the experience, based on what your education, all these things that you deserve the job, and you don't get it. And you don't get it. It's not fair. It is
Yep.
not fair. You know,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, what do you learn from it?
Mhm.
Keep going. Keep
Yep.
going. I mean, I think for every famous athlete or athlete out there that's playing at a professional level, or for every actor or actress out there who you can hear these stories, CEOs where they came from nothing, but they found a way to get success, right? They along the way. If you were to ask them what it was for them, it was I never gave up. I never stopped believing in myself. I never stopped fighting. Even when I heard no, I kept going. I didn't deserve anything. I worked and pushed as hard as I possibly could past those barriers, regardless of whether they're there or not. And I found a way to have success. That is what I did. Period. Period. And excuse me. That is it. And, I mean, you hear these stories all the time about people who pushing through. And you even yourself said, hey, man, I mean, and Nathan, I've had a chance to work alongside you many times. I think you are one of the most talented broadcasters I've ever worked with. And I've worked with a lot of really good broadcasters. You have a way about you in which you describe moments, your one-liners, your comebacks, your knowledge of the sport that you're calling. All of those things have made you a fantastic broadcaster. And your day is coming. And whether that means your day is coming tomorrow on our platform and you have an opportunity to do the next best thing, or you get the phone call that you've always been dreaming of. Your day is coming. And I do want to do this. I want to announce this today. I'm announcing it right now. This is an exciting moment for Nathan Wangler. So this is a moment for Nathan that will live in infamy for the history of mankind. Coming up here on March the 14th, the National Soccer Network is broadcasting an MASL game here on our platform, Chihuahua Savage. It's an English-only commentary. It's an exclusive on our platform. And none other than Nathan Wangler is being offered that opportunity to call that game right now on our platform. Now, this is a professional game.
Right.
So Nathan will have a chance to call a professional soccer game on our platform on March the 14th. Are you available?
Yes. 100%.
So you have to wear a blazer and a shirt and tie, but you have to wear shorts. You got to find really, really colorful shorts. Okay.
Shorts.
But
short shorts.
Maybe some SpongeBob.
I got some fly huggers. I got you.
Now, I want to put this in perspective. As the owner and president and founder of this company, I could do that game.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve it. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yep.
As someone who sits in this chair who sees the bigger picture, it's not about what you deserve. It's about what gives our network the best opportunity for growth. And I feel like Nathan gives us that best opportunity in a few weeks. So Nathan will be doing that game for our platform. Now, do I think I could do better than Nathan? Hell yeah, I do.
Always.
But not to steal your thunder. There will be an evaluation that you will receive after the game from me in an email, and it will not say that you are fired or that you should quit.
You are terrible. Never do it again.
But
here's my novel as to things you could do better.
Yep. But anyways,
JT, I'm honored. I appreciate that a lot. And it's been the same thing for me. And I've talked about it. Like I don't have to wax poetic about myself on here, but I've told you about, some of the hungry nights and long years and sacrificing a ton just to get better, just to have a hope to do something like that. So that's thrilling for me. And it's taken a lot of sacrifice, but just to kind of reference what you were talking about, because I know we're coming into our last 10 minutes here. I remember in high school. Thank you, Peter. Much love, my man. I remember, and this was a hard lesson that I had to learn. I played football back in high school, and we had a coach. His name was Dan Roan, and he was, in a lot of ways, I think hated is an accurate way to say it, by a lot of people within the program. Did not like him. He was very cutthroat. He wasn't very friendly at times. He was an old school coach, the way that he coached on the field, specifically in practice. The way he ran the program was very much like a college program. I mean, we were in there before school even opened to work out in the mornings. We had practice at night. We had film sessions, the whole thing. It was really run. It was a well-oiled machine, but people didn't like him because of the way that not that he carried himself, but the way he did his job. And I remember in the first ever meeting that we had, he goes, if your son is not good enough for a position, or he's not good enough to make it here, or we shift his position, or he's not seeing playing time, or if he gets cut or knocked down the roster, he goes, parents, goes, that's life. If you go out into the world and you don't cut it at your job, you get fired. Appreciate that, Jimmy. If you go out into the world and you don't cut it at this, that, or the other thing, or you're not productive, or your work ethic isn't there, you will get fired. That's how life is. And so he goes, I don't plan to run my program any different than the way any other business in the United States would run their business. If you're not putting me in the best position to win, I will not play you. And he set that standard in the first meeting. And of course, you run into things where seniors aren't playing and there's a sophomore that's playing that's better because he gives us a better chance to win. People hated that. People lost their positions, thought they were entitled to this, that, or the other thing. Oh, I'm a senior. I'm in my last year. I should be able to do this. But he didn't. And I remember him coming we had a baseball game at Comerica Park once. This is a big high school showcase thing. West Catholic was a part of it. And he comes in and he's shown on the big screen at Comerica Park. And he got booed. He got booed by a population of our school. And there was this mentality around him that he was just not a popular guy. But you want to know what he did? 3 straight state championships. 3 before he left. And by the way, he left on his own accord because of the pressure that the athletic department was putting on him. I think because of inside pressure from maybe some people within the program. 3 straight state championships. That school went on to win 5 of them. Mostly because of the people that he put in places, in the facilities and everything else like that. So you can say everything you want to say about him. Maybe your son, maybe whatever didn't fit into that equation, but he did his job. He went out and he won football games. And if you weren't a part of that, it was time for you to look inside and figure out why. Now, I wasn't a part of that the last 2 years because I went off and I played rugby and I did other things. And the reason being was because, number one, I think I found my work ethic starting to slip a little bit. I dealt with some mental health issues in high school, the way people do. Work calls, Jimmy, yeah, go do your work. Don't miss work for this. But mental health, other things that kind of impacted me at that point in my life. My work ethic dropped, and therefore I didn't see much playing time, and I decided to step aside and do other things. But I don't blame him. In hindsight, I was like, well, I was just going through a tough stretch, give me a chance, or I should be doing this or doing that, or I got replaced here or there. I got no one else to blame outside of myself in that moment because my work ethic dropped. I didn't put every ounce of myself into doing what I needed to do to be in a position to start and be a contributing factor on that team. And so it might have been tough, but he made the decision that he needed to make. And as an adult, looking back on it now, I get it. And in that moment, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. This guy's just throwing people to the wind. He's like, seniors out here have been working hard. They're not going to get a chance. He was doing his job. And, so to me, it makes sense. But to parents, I think forever and always, they'll think their kid is the best thing ever. But I think that's why coaches, it's so important to set that tone immediately. Because that sense of entitlement is never going to go away. But if you set the expectation right out of the gate that it won't be tolerated, it makes things a whole lot different. But yeah, JT, you're right. I mean, overall, deserve is a word that you really shouldn't be using. And honestly, I'll be completely real with you. I wish I was better at taking things like compliments from people and like when I was talking to a broadcaster, and I got a network of people that I talk with, but one of them who's in a pretty high place. I mean, he's up there. He's working in high Division 1, Big Ten stuff. He's like, "You're good." He's like, "You got some really good stuff here." And for me, it's like I've always instilled this in myself. It's like mentally speaking, and I wish I was able to admit that. Mentally speaking, I'm always telling myself like, "Yeah, but you're not good enough. There's always something you could do better. There's always something you could smooth out. There's always a new length or a new storyline or a new height or something else you could be doing." But there's also a balance there too. And here's what I'll say, JT. Carry yourself with confidence. Don't carry yourself with cockiness. Because any space that I walk into, I'm confident. If you were to throw me on a game right now between two teams from Timbuktu and I have no prep on it, I'm confident. Or if you call me and you're like, "I have an Oakland game tonight," I'm confident that I can walk in there and do a good job. But I don't walk in there thinking that my shit doesn't stink. There is a fine line between those two things, and people notice that stuff. So I always try to carry myself with a level of confidence as opposed to a level of cockiness, because cockiness is only going to turn people off. Confidence is going to let people know that doesn't matter the time, doesn't matter the place, doesn't matter the teams. I can slot this individual in, and I know he will do a good job at whatever it is that he needs to do. That to me is the biggest differentiating factor. Now, I don't know how to get through to parents on this. Parents, again, their own conversation, and they've had their own life experiences, and they want to see their kids succeed. That's a really tough lesson to learn, but it can be a difference maker when you talk about putting yourself in positions to have the opportunity to do different things like that. That's what I'll say about that.
It's well said. It's well said. And as a parent, I have experience in this.
Yeah.
And obviously one day when you have your children, you'll have that experience too. Obviously, we want the best for our kids. When it comes to school, my message to my children is this: I go, you get out of it what you put into it, right? So if you and again, if you go and you put all your effort in and you get an E still, it's my job as a parent to say, well, okay, well, you clearly don't know what you don't know enough. So it's my job to provide you with resources, tools, support that can help you get to where you want to go, so you don't get an E again. If you're applying yourself to your fullest extent and you're getting a C, that's okay. It's if you're not applying yourself and you're getting a C, that's not okay. Right. So we tell our children this, which is different than my parents. My parents were all about, okay, you got to go get great grades. My thing is, I don't care about your grades if the effort is there, right? And the grades are just a way of measuring what you know. And sometimes it isn't always measuring what you know, it's but how you understand how to take a test too, right? That's another part of this. So we have those conversations all the time. We tell our daughter and our son when it comes to sports, once you say yes, you're in. There's no backing out, there's no quitting. Now it's different if I, as a parent, feel like I need to pull my kid out of there. That's different. And those are different circumstances. That if you're going to do it, you're going to put all your effort into it. You're going to go out there. You're going to be the best version of yourself. You're going to be the best leader on that team, and you're going to do whatever the coach tells you to do. No questions asked. If you feel like the coach is asking you something you shouldn't be doing, then of course tell us, and we'll address it. Parents aren't doing that. Parents aren't doing that. Right. Yep. I can say this and tell you with 100% certainty that parents aren't doing that. Right. And, and again, that's why I say if the world is coming to an end tomorrow or the shit hits the fan, you'll find out who your real neighbors are. Right. I mean, oh yeah, my neighbors are great. Yeah. I'll tell you this right now. I don't care who my neighbor is next door. If I know something's happening, I'm grabbing my kids, my dog, maybe the gecko that my son has, maybe, and we're getting out of Dodge. I'm not waiting, to help am I going to help the neighbor? Probably not. I'm going to get my stuff and go. No offense to you, neighbor, but my job is my 3 kids, my wife, my dog, and the gecko. That's my job. And it's nothing personal.
Right.
So when people say look out for your neighbor, yeah, you look out for your neighbor when it's like not detrimental to your family. That's why when I hear saying things like, well, no, I mean, take care of your home. If we as Americans and the world just took care of our home first, get your home in order, and then go try and help other people, great. But you can't help people if you can't help yourself first. That's a thing. That's a real thing. And I just that's why it's important that we say that. But I know we're over our time here this morning. Want to thank everybody for stopping by. You don't deserve more time. You don't deserve more time.
You deserve to follow our show. That's
right. You deserve to follow our show. But that's a wrap here on number 30. I hope you enjoyed the show this morning. We appreciate you stopping by. Again, Dean Linke on the show tomorrow morning. And I'm not sure what time yet, but we'll have him on tomorrow morning to talk broadcasting, talk soccer, talk all of it. But if you enjoy what we're doing, hit that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. Be back at this again tomorrow morning. Episode number 31 on Inside the Game. We'll come at you here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. But for all of us here at the National Soccer Network, Nathan and I'm Jonathan. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time here for more of this is the wrong video. Again, this is the second time I've selected the wrong video, my friend. What is going on?
You're talking and trying to select the video at the same time.
It's like it's
my you don't deserve a good outro.
This has been a presentation of the National Soccer Network.